judges are the authority, and they're not. Common law is the jury. The jury even has the right in America
Jury nullification.
To rewrite the law,
Yeah.
to remove judges, right?
Yeah.
And that's why ultimately, and you keep saying, which is good, I'm glad you keep saying it, what's behind all this, where are we going? Well, you know, in terms of Canada, let's just talk about Canada. We have this whole colonial structure, which in a way is part of the problem. We've got a Governor-General who can remove the government at any time, answerable to the Queen, whoever that is, and this fictitious crown authority, right? And it owns
She's
all the
actually
land.
a TV show.
Well, probably.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, you know. But it's time we came of age. It's time we became a republic under the common law. And
We're
that
still
means,
a dominion, right? Are we still?
Well, in that bubble, the corporate bubble we are, but when you step outside it, we're not. We're free men and women, and we can create anything
Nice.
we want. And we need a republic in this country. And there's, in fact, a movement that started in Winnipeg. It's now spreading all over. People are coming, it's like the 100th monkey. They're all coming to this idea independently. They say, well, we need to revoke any allegiance. 58% of Canadians wanted that in a decimal poll in 2013. They said,
Wow.
we want a republic. We want no more ties with this
Wait, 50?
anachronism.
50?
58%.
Oh.
So that Republican movement is acting on that mandate, saying, okay, let's start it, but not by changing hats and having a president in now.
Right.
We need local self-governance. You know, the idea is you form an assembly in your neighborhood and you take back power.
Well,
you keep the taxes in the community. You rebuild from the bottom up.
Yeah,
right?
that's the way it's got to be. But what I see happening is that, well, just even in terms of corporate takeovers, okay? Or I used to be involved with a credit union. There used to be hundreds of credit unions in Ontario.
Yeah.
Now there's a handful.
Yeah.
And so you went from hundreds of boards of directors responsibly managing financial institutions to way less people involved in that governance process.
Yeah.
And so what that means is that you got less people acting like adults managing their affairs.
There's that inertia in anything, in any phenomenon in nature and in society. Things are run down. And I know, like, I was active in the 60s and the 70s, and there's this tendency to go, oh yeah, I've seen it all, right? And get cynical and do the jaded thing. But no, we need to reinvent ourselves and allow ourselves to be reinvented all the time, right? And I love to speak in high schools, right? Because the youth nowadays, there's truth in everything. And
Okay. So, wait, I had another question. Let's talk about Canada for a second then. You brought it back to Canada. Here we have now the first post-national prime minister, who's, I mean, it just seems that there is a movement, and this goes along with our, heading towards tribulation idea, that a global government seems that there's somebody's trying to put a global one world government into place, and that's part of the big game plan.
And one world religion. That's why Bergoglio spoke to the World Council of Churches.
And he's willing to baptize aliens if they ever show up.
Assuming he isn't one himself.
But that really, I mean, what you're saying was that really translates. We need to translate that into one world corporation.
It's a corporatocracy is really what they're talking about. And, it's, as for Justin, well, if he didn't have the name, he wouldn't be in as prime minister, right? Pretty much.
For sure. It's to me, that's a reflection of our media culture.
Sure.
Now, we can't have new people. You got to have a second Clinton in the States. You got to have a second Trudeau in Canada.
You got to have a reality TV star.
Pretty much.
I mean, he didn't even get to star with a monkey. Like I could deal with the film star thing a little better.
Yeah.
Also, you can ask him, how come his government ratified very dangerous bill that Harper brought in, the Foreign Investment Protection Act. You should look it up. Section 33, I believe, it's a bilateral agreement with China. It allows China to station security forces on Canadian soil to protect their investments.
Really?
Security forces is defined as anyone who bears arms. So the Chinese army, under that, could be stationed in British Columbia at their mines to protect it. What are they going to do next? Shoot native demonstrators? It's Canadian sovereignty, it doesn't exist. This is why we need to establish it, right?
Does that kind of create the same thing that we've got in Asia, where there's those pockets of sovereign nations?
They call them free trade zones originally back in the
remember.
80s, but now they're corporate. The corporation it's where we've evolved towards. There's no governments anymore. These are corporate bodies. A lot of the so-called government agencies are actual privately run Like, best example is the Child and Family Services here in Ontario, private company that gets $30,000 or more for every child they take out of a home and put in a foster family. So for private prisons, it's like the profit motive. You've got massive child trafficking happening all over.
And people complain about social services giving money to actual families.
Why does a mom on welfare get half of what a foster parent gets?
Right.
Well, what are they trying to do there? Destroy a single mom with her?
Yeah.
Apparently.
I think it's part of the plan. To me, that is consistent with a strategy to get us towards a world government. Because
Right.
what you want to do is you want to destabilize heterogeneous communities who decide to take their society in the direction they want.
Bingo.
And the smallest unit of that is the family, so.
What genocide is, you destroy the mother-child bond, right? And we saw it happening right here with our own money, with our own laws in the residential schools. It's like we're all on the reservation now. It's happening to all of us. And I say to people, if you've allowed it to happen to Native kids, guess who's going to be next? Our own. And it's happening.
It is happening.
Can you tell me just how does CBC fit into either stopping or improving the discourse? I've been listening to the Finding Cleo podcast, the same woman who did Connie Walker, who did Missing and Murdered. And honestly, that's been my biggest education about the residential school system.
Okay, let me, I think local CBC people are great. They often covered our stuff, and then it got to a certain level and bang.
Corporate.
Fifth Estate tried to interview me twice. They got it in the can, and then it was never broadcast. So a lot of political interference, we know that at the higher level. But in terms of the murdered and missing women thing, it's murdered and missing families. The reality is,
that's what our second season is.
Yeah, 2003 we started the community task force into missing people in the downtown east side of Vancouver. We found that, first of all, Wendy Poole was the first one, a Native woman.
Right.
They're blue bloods. They're descendant of the clan mothers. These are targeted killings to wipe out those with the memory of who owns the land. You know, and so it's about the whole deal about land. And I think the Missing Women Inquiry is pretty much like what the so-called Truth and Reconciliation Commission is.
Right.
It's a government-run distraction.
Let's pretend we're doing
Yep.
something, and then
Hide
we won't
the
ask the
evidence.
real questions.
Protect the perpetrators, hide the
Right.
evidence, go after the people with the real evidence and shut them down. That's what we found happening at the TRC. It's happening again. And of course, it's not surprising. It's what you do, you know, when you got to keep the money machine going and
Yeah.
get these people off
And
their
we have
land.
something significant to hide.
Okay, Kevin, so we got to wrap it up, unfortunately. So let's give people some
Okay.
takeaways, some calls to action, some contact information.
Okay.
What do you want to leave
Thank
people
you.
with?
I'd go to Amazon, put my name in, Kevin Annett. You'll see I've written 8 books in the last 2 years just to kind of sum up a lot of this history. Common
What
law
have you been
training
doing with
manual.
your time?
Oh, well, you know, like I say, it beats working, right? You know, I've done common law training manuals and that, but also urge people to see the evidence, judge for yourself. Murderbydecree.com, the tribunal website, itccs.org, International Tribunal of Crimes in Church and State, itccs.org. Write to me. I'm at thecommonland@gmail.com. I spend my time going into communities, helping people organize around this and many other issues. I'm doing a lot of work in Ontario now, actually. There's people wanting to organize around lots of issues like child trafficking and police and court corruption, all this stuff.
And we want to assert our individual sovereignty against the corporate state actors.
And there's a movement, Republic of Canada, they call it. Republic of Canada at gmail.com. They put out a book you can see on it's called The Case for Canada. And it's got a program and a vision for Canada. I urge people to get that on Amazon. I can send you copies too if you write to me.
Yes, please.
I just happen to have some.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
We love free books.
Okay.
Kevin, this has been a great
I'll
conversation.
see you.